Right, you're welcome back. And 7 minutes past 5 on 99.3 Nigeria Info, and we have a big discussion set to begin right away. So, here we go. All right, so here we go. So, this is a big interview we're having today, and we're looking at the we're looking at the United Nations General Assembly 75th session, which is in when you've tweeted us. Remember, you can also send us messages on WhatsApp 0809 597 5805. And at some point, I'll open the phone line so that you can talk with us. This is also being streamed live on Facebook and as well as on YouTube, so you can watch live today's discussion. Have with us a special guest today. A great welcome to the Acting Director General of the Nigeria Institute. Former Acting Director General, rather, of the Nigeria Institute of International Affairs. Great having Dr. F.M. Ubi here with us. It's been great having these discussions with him in the past, and I'm sure when we look at what is going on in the international scene, it's also very important that we look at this. Thank you very much, Dr. Ubi, for coming to 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Thank you for having me once again in your station.
Excellent. And so we will look at a number of things with the president's speech. First and foremost, it's such a long speech, but let's get your assessment as a foreign policy expert on what you say. I and Dr. Obi do know a little bit of Mandarin. Ni hao ma.
Ni hao ma. Ni hao ma.
Ni hao ma, eh? Wo hen hao, eh?
Me wenti.
Ah, she. Okay, so first, this is President Muhammadu Buhari's fifth outing of the UN General Assembly. Well, the first time he's going to do it, he's done it virtually. What is your impression, first and foremost, on the president's speech at the 75th session of the UN General Assembly?
Well, I listened to the speech last night. It was a great speech, and we also have to realize that the world has changed, and we have to move with the changes ongoing in the world. COVID-19 has brought about a new transcendental change all over. I think although the speech was made virtually, but it is filled up with a whole lot of issues, actually perturbing the developing world.
Right.
Continental Africa, Nigeria, and multilateral agencies as a whole.
Right.
And much more importantly, the United Nations itself, 75 years after.
And interestingly, Nigeria's Tijani Mohammed Bande was the 74th UN General Assembly president. And so for a year, Nigeria was in the limelight because of what he did there. I know people will argue that it's ceremonial, but I think it was just sort of a great thing to have Tijani Bande as the president of the General Assembly for the 74th session.
Yeah, it's great. Nigeria, we have always been at the top,
Okie dokie. So a number of issues the president talked about. I think that because the coronavirus pandemic is the most important thing right now, which is grabbing the attention of the entire world, it's put the brake on global progress, development, affecting economies. Nigeria is predicted to hit a recession. People have talked about austerity measures that will happen because of the coronavirus pandemic. So let me take a quote from President Buhari's speech where he says, "As we reflect on the future we want and the United Nations we need, we must realize that the peoples of the world not only look up to us, they count on us. If the United Nations cannot mobilize the world to marshal out a truly effective and inclusive response to the coronavirus pandemic, then the United Nations would have failed in its core mission of giving expression, direction, and solution to the yearnings of the international community excellencies. Dr. Ubi, when you hear the fears and concerns of Nigeria, for example, in how the coronavirus pandemic has been dealt with, Nigeria, he goes on to share Nigeria's experience, and then he's also expressed fear on what is going on in the rush for a vaccine in dealing with the coronavirus, which appears to be the one and only solution in dealing with this problem. That we may be pushed out because we don't have the sort of muzzle the Western world has and may just capture all the vaccines for themselves. What are your thoughts?
Well, fighting the coronavirus, fighting COVID-19, as it is often called, is something that we have to do with based on concerted effort. It has to be in collaboration with other countries and with multilateral agencies.
Right.
It's not something that an individual country can fight. And I think a whole lot of countries must come together concertedly, especially with regards to vaccine production. There's an ongoing multilateral arrangement for vaccine production where I think in alliance with WHO, World Health Organization, the COVAX. Now, all they are asking for is that the advanced nations and the industrialized nations, the rich nations, should contribute a lot of money for this vaccine production. In other words, what happens is, if they give enough to produce this vaccine, the low-income countries or the weak countries and the mid-income countries who are not able to pay will have access to this vaccine.
Right.
I think what they are talking about is equity.
Good.
With regards to vaccine. And so I think the United Nations will have a great role to play, in conjunction with WHO. And without that, I don't think we'll be able to fight the war. It's not a war for one country. It's not a war for Nigeria. It's not just a war for Africa or the sub-region itself, ECOWAS. But it's a war that every country must join hands to defeat. Right.
It's a war that everyone must join hands to defeat. But oftentimes there's been a lot of complaints because usually a country like the United States would have led the push. I've seen a number of reports on how much the United States has pushed into Africa, including Nigeria, in the fight against the coronavirus. But is it a lack of ownership by the international community led by the United States, for example, in this global fight, or the absence of any sort of leadership that concerns Nigeria, for example?
Well, I don't know why there's so much confusion with regards to COVID-19. Recently I did an article on about fighting COVID-19 and not go about fighting a blame war, where the United States and China are involved and all that. I think, you see, if they keep doing that, it undermines the ability for nations to be able to win this war that is ravaging countries across the globe. And I wouldn't say it's because of the absence of leadership. For now, you see, what you have to understand, all nations are equal.
Yes.
In the Committee of Nations or in the international system. So you would not say this is the leader of nations.
Yes.
But what happens is, I think those with the wherewithal, those with the finances, could actually bring in a whole lot of, bring in money to actually push, for vaccines that the weaker countries will have to tap into. It's just the same thing like you giving us 2 billion, like we got from the European Union, we got from China, we got from America, to fight COVID-19. So, but I think that concerted effort should be channeled through the multilateral agencies like the United Nations and the World Health Organization to manage. If you look at recently, a lot of countries are actually asking for reforms and actually even asking that the UN Security Council should actually be part of that reform, where countries that are not there, are not members of the Security Council, should become part of the Security Council. For instance, Africa is asking for 3 membership of the Security Council with veto power and all that. So I think we wouldn't say there is lack of leadership, and we will not say there's a leader, a country that is leading the world. No. The leadership should be handed over to the United Nations. That's the purpose for which the organization itself was set up for peace. So if it doesn't have to do with conventional warfare, like that brought about the United Nations. But this too is a warfare we are fighting. That's why everybody must come together concertedly, cooperatively, collaboratively to fight this war.
All right. In case you just joined the conversation on 99.3 Nigeria Info, we are looking at President Muhammadu Buhari's speech at the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly. The president, I think they're done with the Federal Executive Council meeting, which means he didn't go to the United States, New York, the headquarters of the General Assembly, together with Dr. Ubi. I'm sure if there was no COVID-19, probably would have been in New York for the General Assembly. But by the way, which is a beautiful place to be. I've been there once, the UN headquarters in New York. The assembly wasn't in session then. But Dr. Ubi, you people, the NIA, the foreign policy thrust of the government many times do craft this sort of documents. And people often ask me, so what is the use of President Buhari if he goes to United Nations General Assembly and then he talks about COVID-19 in a global sense, and then he starts to give example of what his government is doing, for example, in fighting the coronavirus and the disbursement of funds to small and medium enterprises, some say show off of what his government is doing locally before an international community. Can you help us explain better why this is important?
Well, I think I don't see anything wrong with that. Going to that, using that platform and telling the world what you've been doing, it shows that you, as a nation, you are prepared to join the fight. What he has done during this period between March up until now shows that Nigeria is able, to join hands with other committee of nations to fight. And invariably, we are also joining hands to fight COVID-19. I don't think it's about bragging what the government is doing, what they have done. No, that's not it. I think we shouldn't be looking at it from that way. When I read the speech and when I heard the speech and read the speech, I realized that I actually thought that people would come up with this kind of thinking, because Nigerians, we criticize a lot. You see, I think I will use the opportunity to tell Nigerians that we need to spend 70% of our time, looking for solutions, profiling solutions to issues than criticizing that a particular policy or a position of government and all that. And then we should also look for an opportunity to understand that position of government and that policies of government, in order for us not to misrepresent and misunderstand and misrepresent, And I think part of the problem it has been because of lack of information, misinformation and disinformation. And so I don't see, like the question you asked, I don't really see anything wrong with what the president did. As a matter of fact, he actually did that. That's exactly what took place between these periods, between March up until now. That is until yesterday he made a speech, and which is the policy of government to improve further in this fight against COVID-19. For God's sake, Africa is the worst hit. COVID-19 has shown that Africa is a fragile economy, and Africa can't fight this scourge alone. We need the help of the international community. We need the help of other countries. We need the help of the multilateral agencies. And so this is what he's saying, that this is what we have done. We still need to do more.
We still need to do more. Send the messages 0809 597 5805. If you've got any questions for Dr. F.M. Ubi, former Acting Director General of the Nigeria Institute of International Affairs, you can also send the questions here. A large chunk of the president's message dealt on the coronavirus. Interestingly, of course, it lies side by side with the theme of this year's General Assembly, which is the future we want, the United Nations we need, reaffirming our commitment to multilateralism, which has been under attack because of, take for example, the coronavirus and how a number of attacks have gone against the bodies like the World Health Organization in its response to the coronavirus, and people blaming the WHO for not acting quickly enough. But like Dr. Owi says, we're better together rather than fighting this war separately. Tell us something also, Doctor. You talked about the fact that the United Nations we need from the Nigerian foreign policy perspective is one that you would have not just Africa getting members on a rotational basis without any power, without any veto power, even voting rights to make big decisions at the UN General Security Council, rather. The clamor for a membership as a permanent member of the Security Council has been on for such a long time. I remember dating back maybe even 80s, 90s, reform for the UN Security Council had been on. But then things happened very quickly. The problem with Boko Haram in Nigeria, problem with the Arab Spring, meant certain candidates were no longer considered eligible. Like they had said, Egypt couldn't deal with the Arab Spring aftermath. Nigeria's Boko Haram problems meant we need to deal with our problems locally first. Do you still think there are candidates that Nigeria will be a candidate, for example, if they said democratize the Security Council?
Why not? Nigeria is well. Let me put it this way.
Right.
We always say Nigeria is a hegemon. Nigeria is the leader of Africa.
Right.
Leadership is not self-arrogation. It is given to you. And when you go to multilateral meetings within continental Africa,
right,
AU, even the sub-regions, they always tell you Nigeria is the leader of Africa. Nigeria should be in the lead. And we have not given up. And I want us to also understand that if you look at Nigeria, the population is huge. About 200 million. Now, you look at our economy, it's the biggest in Africa. Now, you look at the market, it's the biggest in Africa.
Right.
Nigerian market is about 3/4 of ECOWAS market.
Right.
Then 1/4 of continental Africa. And so now, in terms of our conventional military, we've played great role in peacekeeping operations. We brought peace to Liberia, Sierra Leone. We intervened in Cote d'Ivoire. We are also in Mali. The crisis in Mali Mali as of 2012. Right. The crisis in Mali recently, the military purge. You see what the president did, sending an envoy, the person of our former president, Jonathan. Right. Yeah. Good luck, And you see, this is the role of a country that is supposed to be leading Africa. And so we have all it takes to be a part of the UN Security Council. Now, the question I will also ask you is, if it is not Nigeria, which country? You talked about the fact that our president went to, in his speech, he talked about what his government has done over this period of time.
Yeah.
Now, that again should bring us to the fact that charity begins at home.
Right.
You have to tell the world that you're stable. Things are actually going on well in your country. So whatever you're presenting here is as good as it is. But meanwhile,
so you're saying that Nigeria's foreign policy, which is Nigeria first, is that what it is? The Nigerian interest first before we.
Well, the whole idea of foreign policy is for you, it's actually about your interest, your national interest.
Right.
Now, our national interest could be wide. There are core values.
Right.
Economy is part of it. So, you embark on foreign policy, which is the action or inactions of government against other states or non-state actors, to be able to get what you want, and that's what you don't have enough in your country and what you don't have, that is the whole idea. Foreign policy is supposed to bring about economic development, economic growth and development in the country. And so our foreign policy, I think over time, since 1999, when the Fourth Republic was ushered in, there has been a transcendental change in it. Obasanjo's foreign policy was that of reconstruction, image building.
Right.
I know within that purview, he was supposed to attract a lot of foreign investment.
Right.
Yar'Adua he came up with the diplomacy of consequence, or what we call citizens diplomacy.
Exactly.
All this foreign policy was about the home front.
Right.
Now, Jonathan came, his foreign policy was that of attraction of foreign investment.
Right.
And you could see the investment between 1999 up to 2015
Right.
increase.
Right.
Now, our president,
Yeah.
President Muhammadu Buhari, his foreign policy is what I prefer to call the tripartite foreign policy of the government, which includes economic development, fight against corruption, and fight against insecurity.
All right,
but
Dr.
all
Tumi.
that is revolves around his
Right.
9 priorities that
Right.
was
We'll
issued out recently.
Right. We'll delve into that very shortly. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we can talk some more with former Acting Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Dr. F.M. Ubi. Right after this, please stay with us.
Hard Facts will be right back.
This is Hard Facts. Welcome back to Hard Facts with Sandra Ezekwesili.
Oh, welcome back. Sandra's still on vacation, though. And I'm although with former Acting Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, big story on the foreign scene has been the UN General Assembly, which is going on virtually. The 75th session of the General Assembly, which is focused on the theme, the future we want, the United Nations we need, reaffirming our collective commitment to multilateralism, confronting coronavirus through effective multilateral action. You can join the conversation on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. Send us messages if you've got any questions, 0809 597 5805. I can see the lines buzzing. At some point, I will come to you if you have got any questions. So, Dr. Ubi, we left off at Nigeria's foreign policy with President Muhammadu Buhari, which is important because it revolves around the entire speech by the president yesterday virtually, where he talked about a number of things. I remember some of the earlier appearances of President Buhari at the General Assembly, where his key focus had been in trying to seek support from the international community in the war against Boko Haram, because he came into at a time when Boko Haram decimated several territories in the north, occupying territories, and was reclaimed, and then needed support in terms of humanitarian efforts in, bringing life back to normal in areas where people in several millions had been forced to leave their homes and have become internal displaced persons or refugees outside the country. What would you say in terms of support from the international community when the president talks about the war on terror during his speech? He's mentioned in Nigeria, we still face a violent extremism from the insurgency of Boko Haram and bandits. We continue to count on our strong cooperation with UN counter-terrorism bodies and neighboring countries to overcome the terrorists in the Lake Chad Basin. Like we talked about earlier, he goes on to talk about what they're doing in their local scene, where we are vigorously sustaining the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and resettlement of victims of terrorism and insurgency in the Northeast. Right. So, Dr. Ubi.
Yeah.
Right. The war on terror.
Yeah. The terrorism is everywhere, nearly every part of the globe. No country is actually safe from terrorism attack. And initially, it wasn't that preponderant in Nigeria until recently and all that. And so, it's something that we've been struggling over the years,
Yes.
To beat, which we're still fighting. And it's fighting terrorism is not just a one country thing. It must be in collaboration or in cooperation with other countries.
Yes.
And so I think I will look at it like telling the world what we're doing, in fighting terrorism. For instance, our multilateral joint task force, within that region. It's actually the whole countries within the Sahel are suffering from it. So it's telling the world that Niger, Chad, Cameroon, everybody is suffering from it, and we have all come together to fight. Not just the neighboring countries, but Africa, the African Union is playing great role. That is why he talked about multilateral agencies involved, and the United Nations counterterrorism bodies too. Everybody is playing a role. I think there are so many issues that we are confronted with that not Nigeria can't face alone.
Right.
Bringing it here too is to let the world know that we still need support from the international community.
Right.
Not just Nigeria, but other countries involved. The whole of the Sahel is a big problem for us. If you look at the Sahel, the countries along that region.
Yeah, Niger, Chad.
Niger, Chad, up to Mali.
Right.
It's a big problem, and there's so much arms within that region, so much militias, bandits, insurgency, ongoing terrorism. You could see that is actually what is destabilizing the countries around that area. So what happened in Mali wasn't even a new case. It's
Right.
something. It's something. It's a carryover. It's something that precipitated from the Sahel, the insecurity in the Sahel. So I think we need to commend the effort of the government, in so doing, and we need the support too of the international community with
Right.
regards to resettlement. Resettlement. Not just that, the rehabilitation of some of the forced combatants, reintegration of this forced combatants into the society.
Right.
After you have rehabilitated them,
Right.
you reintegrate them.
Yes.
So I think we need the effort of the UN. We need
Very
the effort of the AU too, not just the UN. I think everybody must play a very critical role, and that's why you saw much recently when he was elected in. We started getting aid from the United States, from Britain, and from other countries. We got some few millions of pounds from Britain. I think about 30-something million pounds. We got some money too from the United States, and even the military equipment too came in and all that. I think if we have to assess the present scenario, you understand that I think a lot has been done. A lot of people are beginning to come back to their home, to their villages.
Right, which is directly linked with the economic objectives of the government also too. I mean, if they're going to deal with the millions of people who don't have access to their homes or jobs or businesses because of the terrorism. I think that's what it is. This insurgency, people get terrorism and extremism, which is going on in the northeastern part of the country and the Sahel. People have to start to ask questions of the elected leaders how they can make lives better for themselves. If you look at what he says also in terms of the multilateral goal with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal. He says that we're trying to reverse the gains made this has reversed the gains. He talks about the coronavirus and then the war on terror. What would you say in terms of how we take the UN goal, for example, which is the SDG for 2030, and then local goals in dealing with, we've talked about insecurity here. There's also poverty, which is one of the SDGs in eliminating by 2030, and how the government can align. Is it just rhetoric, or there's work on ground when he mentions a number of things, putting money to MSMEs and the rest of them?
It's not rhetoric. He mentioned the amount that has been injected into those areas or those issues to be, for instance, the eradication of poverty. He mentioned some amount of money that has been injected there. So it's not just rhetoric. Now, if you look at, ever since he came, even he's been involved in a whole lot of infrastructural development, upgrading and building new infrastructures. I think that's what we need. If we have to build an economy, a sustainable economy, we need the infrastructures. We need intermodality. What I mean by that, I mean with the transport infrastructure, road, rail lines, our waterways, the aviation. There must be this connectivity, not just within Nigeria, but across Africa. So the whole issue, if we have to even tap into the African Continental Free Trade Area, then that connectivity must be there, that infrastructure must be there.
Right.
Now, if you look at its now priority, agriculture was was part of the priority of government. Food security.
Right.
And there's a whole lot being done in that area. If you look at since the closure of border against contraband and against illegal importation, a lot of people have gone back into agriculture.
Very true.
Poultry, rice farming, and all that. I think it's just that what we want here in this part of the world, what we want here in Nigeria is that we want to leapfrog into the 22nd century without going through the transcendental.
So true.
Yeah,
true.
So I think we need to give them. Yeah, we are all going to suffer, I know, but I think at the point we enjoy all these development initiatives being put in place.
Absolutely. So I think we can take in some calls. Still to come. Don't run anywhere. There's just a minute. And those of you who want to win 10,000 naira today, Dr. Obi and I will watch you try and play.
I will win the 10,000 too.
Well, let's open the phone lines. 0700 993 993 993. Call us and tell us what lessons you've learned. Usually people would ask, what has been the benefit of the president of the UN General Assembly? Well, he didn't go this time, so there is no entourage for us to query and say, spending hard-earned Nigerian currency to go to New York for an event you don't know. But if you got any questions also for Dr. Ubi, the floor is open. Let's see who we have first joining the discussion on the Big Hand Fact today. Peter calling in from Apapa. Hello, Peter.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening to your guests in the studio.
Good evening.
Yes. First of all, before I make my own comment, I want to correct one information that Dr. Ubi gave. He said that President Buhari sent an envoy in the name of ex-President Jonathan to Mali to mediate. That is not correct. It was not Buhari who sent Jonathan to Mali. It was ECOWAS, because Jonathan is the head of the ECOWAS contact group on Mali. That was why ECOWAS sent him there. So Jonathan was only coming to brief President Buhari, being the current chairman of the ECOWAS head of states. So it was not Buhari who sent Jonathan there. I mean, Jonathan is not part of Buhari's government. So my point, what I really want to say is that, well, the people manning our foreign affairs had really not been able to separate domestic issues from foreign ones. When you are making a speech, writing a speech for the president on foreign matters, you should try and make it at least 3/4 foreign and 1/4 local. And if it is the other way around, that is what it should be. 3/4 local and 1/4 foreign. But in the speech I listened to, much of it was dwelling on domestic issues, which is not proper.
All right, Peter. All right, because
Dr. Obi can speak on that.
Yeah, he will speak on that. Thank you very much. While the next call is loading, let me get on to WhatsApp. This is I don't have your name, but please kindly include your name when you send the messages on WhatsApp. It says, good evening to all. I love your program, interesting topic. If I may ask your guest, if what he's saying is the reality on ground, or seeking for, well, I don't seem to understand, or seeking for reappointment. I don't know what he means by that. But this is Chike from Akute. He says, your guest seems to be painting a picture of Nigeria that exists in fairy tales. Not reality. Nigerians are passing through a nightmare. Please, can he just say it as it is? If I find so many things he's saying not correct. Even COVID-19 was converted to cash flow by this government. All right, keep the calls coming in. I see a call coming in. Let's take this one, and Dr. Ubi can quickly respond to what you have to say. Can I take this one, Colette, or do I leave it? Okay, let's try. Let's take it. Okay, so I see Victor. Victor is calling in.
Just a minute.
Victor, where are you calling in from? Badagry. All right, so go ahead. You got any question? All right, he doesn't have any question. All right, so Dr. Ubi, maybe you just go ahead and then we'll get...
I don't know what his name is. The first caller.
Yes, Peter.
Peter. Well, in international politics, that's what we call international public persons. International public persons. Most of them, any government in power can decide to use them, can decide to send them to anywhere as mediators or arbitrators. And that is why, if you look at the international system today, you see Thabo Mbeki going everywhere. Even our own former head of state, Abdul Salam, is everywhere and all that, based on their international public personality. And you see, your discourse on separating domestic from foreign policy, there's what we call the inside-out approach in foreign policy analysis. The inside-out approach is that, whatever you're going to do outside is actually the formation period is from within, that, and aside that, the internal or the domestic policy actually determines your foreign policy action. So I don't see why or what is wrong with the president's speech. like the other person was saying, maybe I'm not looking for any appointment or for any appointment. I think you should read most of my articles. They're actually policy oriented. I'm basically trying to profile solutions.
Yeah.
Like I have said earlier, we spend too much time criticizing, and we criticize based on lack of information. We criticize based on misinformation and based on disinformation. I think this is not what we should be doing right now.
All right. Let's exactly. So we get the point, Dr. Obi. Let's speak with Barrister, another Peter from Maryland. Barrister Peter, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
kindly move away from the device you're listening with so we don't get the feedback.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. You see, this United Nations that is holding its 75th anniversary celebration. My contribution, because I actually sent a submission to the UN Secretary General, but I didn't know that they were not going to meet formally face-to-face because of this coronavirus.
Yeah.
Yes. You see, my personal opinion is that the UN has become a toothless bulldog. Because the reason I'm saying that is that since America detonated the nuclear weapon in 1945, the so-called superpowers, who are said to be the permanent members of the United Nations, they have been oppressing, the smaller nations. They have been bullying, like what America did to Iran. When Trump took over, he cancelled the negotiation or the peace negotiation America had with Iran on this armaments, and almost set the whole world on fire. So, okay, look at what Obama spent time to negotiate this environmental Paris environmental convention, which was signed by everybody.
All right, Barrister
now,
Peter. Right. We get your point there. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Ubi, we just have a minute, just to summarize. If you've got any reactions to any of the comments.
Well, I want us to understand that the world has totally changed, politically, socially, even culturally. So and this is the result of the advent of COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
And so I think we all need to join our hands together to fight this scourge, this pandemic, and whatever the government is doing, we should try as much as possible to support the government. If the government is not doing it right, then criticize constructively. It's not about you going to social media, Facebook, and WhatsApp, and start abusing the government. I think we should try to stop that. And like I always say, it's not all about what the government can do for you. It's also about what you can do for your government.
Absolutely, what you can do for your government. All right, so we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you very much, Dr. F.M. Ubi, who is former acting director general. NRIA, and it's been great speaking with you. Always a pleasure. Sheshe.
Mewenti. Bukechi.
Aha. Okay, so some little Mandarin for you to work with. Okie dokie. So we still have one more thing to do. And those of you who've been waiting, I think we are ready to go now. And let's see how this plays out. Here we go.
Entertaining, exciting, and puts money in your pocket. It's Just a Minute. Just a Minute. A game show brought to you by 99.3 Nigeria Info. Here's how it works. Call into any of our shows. That's the Morning Crossfire, Lunchtime Magazine, The Sunny Side, and Hard Facts, and answer as many questions possible with 60 seconds, and we will be giving out 100,000 naira every week. Winner will be announced on Hard Facts with Sandra Ezekwesili. Just a Minute, the game show for everyone. Right here on your number one station for talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's play, let's win, let's talk. This is Just a Minute. Just a Minute on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, here we go. This is Just a Minute, and this for the wrap. Oh, good. So, you know the rule. I hear that the highest, the one who's got the highest so far is a guy called Caleb on Sunnyside. He got 6 questions. So you know the way it is. I will pick a call and go straight to the point. If you don't know the answer, you skip. If you know the answer, good luck to you. In a minute, you have to do it. Who do I pick? I don't know the numbers. I don't know the names. And this is our lucky fellow. Hello. 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 Heaven forbid that you get through and you can't talk. Oh boy, he lost the opportunity. Or she did. And another one lost the opportunity also too. Let's see. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. So you are the lucky one. But let's see how lucky you can get. You know the rule, right? Hello? Are you there?
Hello.
Talk to me. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Uche.
Say that again.
Uche.
All right, Uche. So are you ready for just a minute?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
This is Just a Minute.
What day and month does the NLC embark on its strike against the federal government's hike in electricity tariff and fuel
28.
increase?
28.
28 of what?
September.
Who is the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress?
Ayuba Waba.
The guest I just spoke with works with NIIA. What does NIIA stand for?
Nigeria Institute of International Affairs.
The NPC on Tuesday cut the benchmark interest rate to 11.5%. What does MPC stand for?
Monetary policy.
Say what?
Monetary policy.
You missed that one. Who is the Minister of State for Labour and Productivity?
Kayamo. Festus Kayamo.
What session of the UN General Assembly is ongoing in New York?
General Assembly.
What
UN
session?
General Assembly.
What session?
75th.
Who was the... Oh, there you go. You had 5 questions correct, unfortunately. Okie dokie. So he got 5 questions. But let me be sure. He got 1, he got 2, he got 3, he got 4, 5. Unfortunately, 5 questions. He had to get 7 to beat Caleb. So Caleb on Sunnyside, congrats to you. You're a winner today for just a minute. They'll get in touch with you. And Dr. Ubi, you like this game, right?
Don't embarrass me here.
All right, up next is the news. And from there, bye-bye. Like we say, yalla, 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 all the way, yalla. Bye-bye.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.